Hello everyone, good morning, happy Tuesday. Thank you so much for joining us again for another virtual nature event with Open Space Authority. Today, we're at the beautiful Laguna Seca Seasonal Wetland, which is part of the North Coyote Valley Conservation Area. It's an amazing piece of land that was protected just last year with a really cool collaboration between the Open Space Authority, the City of San Jose, Peninsula Open Space Trust, and a few other really important partners. So we're here today doing some art. Thanks for joining us for nature sketching. I'm here with Edward Rooks, who is a naturalist and amazing artist. He'll be showing us some tips and tricks and techniques for depicting nature through art, especially sketching. So I just want to remind everyone that since we are on Facebook Live, you can always press that little watch party button in the corner and invite other people that might not be at your home with you to watch with you, or just give them a text or a call. Tell them to head over to the Open Space Authority's Facebook page, where we'll be doing this for this morning. We'll also be saving the entire video to our Facebook page afterwards, and then also our YouTube. So for people that aren't on Facebook, let them know there's going to be another way to watch it later this afternoon. Just wanted to thank everyone again who's sheltering in place at home. This is huge for helping. Oh, there goes my phone. This is huge for helping to flatten the curve and keep everyone safe and healthy. Because of that, we're going to keep doing these virtual nature events to keep everyone really connected to nature, even at home. If you do have to go outside for an essential activity like shopping or even going on a hike or exercising, please remember to keep those 6 feet of distance at least between yourself and people you don't live with. Love your parks 6 feet apart. That's how we're going to keep our parks open and safe for everyone to enjoy. So I'm going to hand it over to Edward right now and enjoy the lesson.
Morning everybody. So I'm planning to do some drawing, sketching birds. We'll try to draw 3 different types of birds and look at the different proportions of each type. So I have little illustrations that I use when I'm doing this demonstration, and you can draw along with me. So grab a pencil, grab some paper, and let's draw some birds. So what I want to start with is, I don't know if you can see that there, but a sparrow. So we're going to try to end up drawing a sparrow like this, and we're going to use ovals to get the body shape and the head shape, and then we'll use guidelines to find where the feet go and where the tail goes and the beak and so forth. So first is a sparrow. Let's draw. Sparrows are ground birds, so typically we're going to see them on the ground. So I'm going to put my ground in there, and then I'm going to figure out how big the bird is going to be. How much can I fit on this page? I want to maximize the size of my drawing. I don't want to do little drawings because then it's too hard to get the details. So I figure out my bird is going to probably sort of fit between there and there, leave some good space on the outside and good space above, and there's my ground. So it's going to be in here somewhere, and I'm going to figure out what the biggest part of that bird is. So I'm going to try to get the body in here, and the body's going to fit like this. Maybe the tail will come out to this line here, and then the head will be up here somewhere. So, how high is it off the ground? How big is it? Sparrows are chunky little birds, and so their body shapes are like a flattened egg. It's a little bit of an oval, it's elongated, but about twice as long as it is wide, so it's chunky. Okay, there's the body. It's about a body's width off the ground, so that you can get your legs under there. Now, the tail is going to come off this end, and so what I want to do is put a guideline from the middle of the body out for the tail. If the tail's going up, it'll be like that. And so that we can then put that tail out there. Now, how big is that tail? Well, so I have to then judge size. I can't take a ruler to the bird, so I'm looking at proportions. How big is that tail relative to the body? So how many tails can I fit? And for the sparrow, it's a little less than 1 that will fit in the body. So it's about the same size as the body, a little shorter. Okay? And then that's about the right size. So now the head. The head's going to be an oval, and it's going to be on top of the body, of course. And it's going to be a little bit towards the front of the body. So it's going to be out here like this. How big is that head? Again, we're measuring how many heads can fit in a body. And in a sparrow, it's about 2. In an owl, less. Okay, and an egret, more heads. So each of those birds are birds we're going to draw today. 2 heads, that's about the right size. Guideline for the beak, right through the middle of the head, going horizontally like this. I don't know if you can see that. There's that beak, okay? And how big is that beak going to be? I think I can see my drawing down there. I'll bring it for you to see. That beak is really kind of short. Probably fit about 4 beaks in a head. So I know that it's going to be only to about here somewhere. And it's a relatively heavy shaped beak, so it's triangular, it's strong, cracking seeds. So it's going to be shaped like this. Okay, there's a sparrow beak. Okay, and now how do I find where the eye goes? Another guideline, right through the middle. The eye goes up nearer the beak and the top quadrant like that, towards the middle of the head. Some birds have eyes right in the middle of their heads, like robins. These are birds that have to look out for predators like hawks, and so they have to be able to see all the way around their heads. Well, the hawks have their eyes more to the front. The predators use parallax to figure out where things are and to judge distance. But robins and sparrows need to have their eyes on the side of the head so they can see all around. So it's closer to the middle. Okay? And now I want to make sure you know that all of us have bottoms, all of us have rumps. So do birds. That's the pope nose on a chicken. Okay? So I'm going to put a rump there. It's about the same size as the head, a little smaller. And then I'm going to fill in my tail shape. And we've got a basic bird there going, right? Now, where do the feet go? So, for all birds, they balance on their feet, so it's got the center of gravity. And for birds, the biggest, heaviest part of the bird is the body and especially the breast. And so, it's going to be, the feet are going to be underneath the breast where all the weight is. And that gives it balance. So I know my feet are going to be somewhere here like that. So I'm going to put a little mark. And then the feet come from between the rump and the body. There's going to be a little bit of a leg here, and then the foot comes down to that spot. So underneath the rump, where the rump meets the body, and then you got the leg, or what we call the leg, is actually the foot bone of the bird. Okay? And then from that foot comes all the toes. And people would typically draw a bird's foot something like this, but that's too small. A bird's foot is about the same size as its head, so you're going to have the claw, another claw, and then you're going to have the foot here like this. Okay, 3 toes forward and then a claw. The center claw is the biggest claw. That's about the right size. Okay, and then in this drawing, the other foot's kind of in an awkward place. But with my technique, you can actually figure out where that other foot's going to be, no matter where it wants. You can put a foot back here. You can put a foot over here behind this foot, and it'll all look good if you know how to do it. But in this case, in this drawing, the foot is, we're looking down on top of the bird, and the foot is kind of coming out from behind the bird up here like this. Okay, so there's the sparrow. Now, we take all of these blocks and all of these guidelines, all these ovals and guidelines, and we smooth out the outside. The neck comes from the back here. The spine will come down out of the back of the head. And then, so in the neck, feathers are going to go like this. The throat feathers are going to go like this to the body, and the body's going to bulge out. Okay, that's going to be the wing. The wing is going to be up here somewhere. The wingtip goes over the rump, so I'm going to mark that. My wing ends there, and it comes down to about the middle of the body, like that. There's my wing. There's a sparrow. The proportions are right. Now I can spend all the time I want either fixing this or adding details. But this is the skeleton, this is the framework that you build your details on. Don't waste time putting all the details on the head before you get the tail in. All right, fit everything, otherwise you might have your foot is not going to fit at the bottom, and you have to adjust it, but it's too late, so you end up, with a drawing with a foot that's too short. Okay, so there's a sparrow. Let's try an egret. So egrets have long necks. Can you see this in there?
Perfect.
Long legs, and relatively short tails, very different proportions. So working on that is going to be very different from a sparrow. It's a little chilly out here and I can't quite get my fingers to work. I'm going to need to be up a little higher, I think. So here we go. Again, it's standing on a perch. So I'm going to bring the perch down because this is a taller bird. I want to make this bird fit from there to there. So the head's going to be up here. And this is the height of the bird. In the middle of the page here, that's where my neck is going to be. I'm sort of figuring it out in my mind. How am I going to fit this bird? It doesn't need to be too wide because it's a tall bird. I could actually bring the drawing down here. Let's do that. Okay. Now, with egrets, their legs are pretty much going to start at the body in the middle all the way up here. So the body's starting up there and it's going to come like that. Let's take that off. That's not working. Okay. Anyway, it's going to be something like that. And the way I judge that is that I need to have long legs. So how many bodies between the body and the ground? All right. And on here I can see it's about one body length. So actually my ground's a little far down, and this is when I can fix all my mistakes. So that's my new ground, and that's about one body length below the body. Okay. And then I'm going to have the head. The head is going to be in front of this middle line, in front of the breast, above the breast, and so the head's going to be up here somewhere. And look at how small that head is compared to a sparrow head. Okay. How many heads can fit in the body? And I can look in here and it's about 4 heads in the body. So that's about right. Okay. Again, the neck is coming out of the back of the head like this, coming out of the back of the head and going down. And it's going to go down, but it's going to go back in. Egrets have that whiplash. They have a kind of a striking neck. So they can use whiplash to catch fish and stuff like that. And now it's going to come back into the back of the body like that. Come down, thin at first, about a head's width, and then all the way back to the breast, so it's thicker at the bottom. That looks about right. Okay. And then the beak's going to come straight down through the head like that. How many beaks in a head? From this drawing, I think it's a little more about how many heads in a beak. Okay, so maybe 1 and a bit, and so that's about the right size for the beak. And now I'm going to bring that back to the forehead. A long spear-shaped beak. It's like the tip of a spear, and they literally use that as a spear to catch fish and rodents like gophers. Okay, and now you find the eye. It's a little more forward because they're predators. It's going to be in that general area. And it looks sort of egret-y. Okay, now is very short. So the tail's going to end somewhere about here. Coming out, the rump is in here. We're not even going to bother to worry about that too much. That's pretty much an egret body there. And then we're going to have the legs starting under this chest, under the breast, and coming straight down and then out in front of the breast here like that. So there's where my toes come in. This one here is going to come backwards, about equal here, the ankle. This is the ankle of the foot. Okay, there's the foot bone coming down straight.
I think you've lost the mic.
Nice. I'm sorry, I lost my mic. It fell on the ground. The clip came off actually.
It's still on you. It looks like there just needs to. We're live, everyone.
Yeah. So I just need to snap.
Point it out. Thank you for letting us know.
Thank you. Yes. All right. So this is not ideal, but we'll make it work. Tuck that in behind. That's probably the best thing to do. Loosen that. Tuck that in behind. Then I won't have to deal with that at all anymore. Okay. So there, we got the proportions of an egret. And I can now erase, fix, clean it up, do whatever I need to do to make it realistic. Now the wing is going to be on, I want, bodies tend to bulge out at the bottom here and go back like that. So I exaggerate that a little bit if I can. That's too much for this egret, but anyway, that's enough for that. I'm going to move on. There's a heron, a blue heron. When we first got to this spot this morning, there were blue herons. There was one flying off right here from where we're standing now, and so that was quite exciting. Let's do this little owl. So it's a saw-whet owl, and it's just a very easy little task. Okay. On this egret, we can put our toes on now. They're about the size of a head, so I knew the size to do that. 3 toes forward, 1 toe back. And that'll be the skeleton for that project. We can add details like that heron later. And we might actually get to doing this if we have time today. We'll do this and we'll put some feathers on the wings. We'll talk about wings and feathering. So all that detail is coming. Right now we're just going to work more on the proportions. And an owl is very different from an egret. So it's a perfect project to show the differences in birds. All right, so this little owl, I want to fit him again as large as I can. He's sitting on a stick that's going like this. And he's leaning over a little bit this way, so I'm going to lean his oval this way. And he's chunky, he's really egg-shaped, okay? But this is, oh, I haven't got much room for the head. I can just about fit the head. That was a mistake on my part. I should have planned that better, but I can just about fit it, so I'll do that. Here's the head. The head is about as big as the width of the body, okay? So it comes like this, overlapping the top. Very different from an egret, different from a sparrow. Look at that. Those are the proportions of a saw-whet owl. Okay. The rump is going to be a little smaller than the head down there, and the tail is short. So the tail is just going to be something like that. And there's an owl. Okay. And now they have facial discs. So they have 2 circles of feathering on one on either side of the beak. So the beak's going to be in the middle of the head here, a little dinky beak like that. And then they're going to have these facial discs that sort of form an X. And this is for listening. They hunt using sound as well as sight. But at night, sometimes they can't see, so they need these facial discs to allow them to hear where their prey is. And then the eyes are going to be large. They're going to be on either side. There's the middle there, there's the middle here. I know the one eye is going to be close to the center here. About how many eyes in a head? They're pretty big for a bird. The eye size is hard to judge. So I have to count how many eyes can fit across a head. And on this one, I'm thinking 1, 2, 3, maybe 6 eyes. Okay? So I should be able to fit 3 eyes on either side of this beak. And that'll be the way to figure out how big my eyes are going to be. And you know, you can guess, and then your approximation can be checked with other techniques, looking at the space shapes and stuff like that. But that's how I worked it out, and that's about right, I think. A little big, but that's okay. I'd rather be a little big on an owl. That makes it cute. It makes them cuter. So they'll have an eyebrow up here, an eyebrow there, a mustache. Birds do have mustaches. And then the wings will be on either side of the body here like this. There's the wing wrist, and I'm going to talk about wing wrists in a little bit. That's where the feathers of the flight feathers of the wing come off. Okay, and then The wing comes down alongside the body. It's just a very simple little drawing with, this is my branch down here, so my toes are going to be on the branch. 2 toes forward. And that seems like it's off balance. The feet aren't quite in the right place. So I can then move my feet to sort of balance the owl by maybe moving it under the breast a little more. Okay? So there's the framework again. And now we can add all the detail we want. Use photographic reference. I always have lots of photographs. Here's a California quail. And that way I can get all the detail I want after I have done the basic structural sketch. Here's a white-tailed kite that we see very commonly here in Laguna Seca. Okay. So, do we have any feedback or?
Nancy's actually wondering if you teach classes besides this one.
I do, but you know, just I've done it through the Audubon Society. I've done it through universities in the area. Mostly, I just teach at home to individuals who ask for personal lessons. Yeah.
And Landa just says she loves the way you explain proportions.
Oh, thank you, Landa. I'm glad you do. Some people find it tedious, but I'll tell you, it's worth it. You know, it took me years to learn these tricks about proportions and about bird parts and so forth. But if you invest a little time in planning your drawing of your bird, building your bird, and getting the approximate shapes and size relatively correct, it's much better. All your drawings will be guaranteed to come out more accurately and look more like the bird.
And Charlene's wondering if you can draw a quail.
A quail! Yay! I like that suggestion. All right, so I have a quail photograph. You saw that earlier. So how many quail heads in a quail body? Let's see. There's the breast. 1, 2, 3. Not so many. 3, maybe 4, right? So let's try it. All right, chunky little bird, very short legs. So these are the sorts of things you look for. If you're drawing a giraffe, it's going to be very different from a squirrel. Okay, and what makes it different? It's these proportions. So just like an egret and a quail. Here we go. So the ground is going to be down here. I want to fit this quail. I want to make sure I make him nice and big. So I want to make sure his head is going to be up here somewhere like that, and his body is going to come in at an angle like that. A big chunky oval, leaving some room at the bottom there. So I'm thinking maybe half a body distance. Okay, heads up here in front, under, above the breast. Okay, in front of the body a little bit. 4 heads in the body, so there's half of half. So there's my head, about that big. So I'm going to do this. Is that too high? Is that too low? Looks pretty good. Neck comes out of the back. There like that, okay, and then the throat comes down here like this into the breast, and there's the shape of a quail's head. Beak comes straight out the front here. How many beaks in a head? You see, it's starting to look like a quail already. It's got more neck than a sparrow, less neck than an egret. So how much neck did I put in? About 1 head. That's important. I should have mentioned that before. Okay? And they got a small beak. So the beak is about as wide as my pen tip here. Okay, so 1, 2, maybe 3 beaks in a head. Okay, so that's about this big. That's big. Okay? It comes curling down like that. There's a quail beak. And of course, they have a top knot. And I can't fit it. I made the worst mistake possible. Now I have to start over. Okay? If you have to start over, well, that's part of this, okay? There, my top knot's going to be something like that. That'll fit it in anyway. Notice I did an oval to get that front part. Now I can add all the detail I want. But I just generalize the shapes before I draw them. Approximation, and then the detail is built on your approximations. It's a way of just judging as you go, but it gets better and better as you go. Okay, so rump comes out a little bit more parallel to the ground than the body angle, and it's about the size of a head. And then the tail comes out of there about that long. So there's a quail body, chunky, short tail, okay? The wing is hidden. All of this fancy feather work here, all of this pattern is going to be breast feathers, flank feathers, okay? So all of these feathers here are not wing, they're covering the wing. So behind all of that breast feathering, the breast feathering is coming up like this. You have a wing laying down here like that. That's what we call the wrist of the wing. And then the wing tip is going to be over the back like that. There's the wing of the quail. Okay? And I'll get into flight feathers and all of that later. Now, feet under the breast, one there. Under the rump, one there. Here's the ankle of the bird, foot coming down, toe, and they don't have a hooked toe like perching birds. They're more of a scratching bird, so their toenails are flatter, their talons, and their hind toes are really short. So you're gonna have a little toe in the back, and then you're gonna have this toe is gonna be a little shorter than that other one, like that, and one behind. Is that about right? That's about right. That's about the size of a quail head. Okay? It looks a little big when you're first drawing it, but it really is correct. And you always double check. Okay, now the eye of the quail is in the middle. This is good food. Everybody likes to eat quail. Okay? So right there towards the middle of the head, right on the beak side of the middle top of the head. Okay? Beak comes back underneath there like that. There's the mustache, should be here. Cheek, nape of the neck. I'll get into all of that later. All right, now from here you have the ankle coming back, line dropping down, and toenail is a little flattened like that. And up here, little toe in the back, walking. So that's sort of quaily. Using these ovals is going to give you a much better chance of getting the proportions correct before you start putting on all that beautiful feather design. So I really recommend using a technique like this. It'll save you a lot of time in the end. The throat comes down, the patterns, now you can start to put in those pattern shapes. The eyebrow, fill in the black, and now it'll start to really look more like a quail. Oops. But I'm not going to be doing that today, so we will move on. I hope that's helpful. Any other suggestions for?
There was a suggestion to do but they're hoping maybe for a future tutorial about drawing birds in flight. Maybe consider doing a follow-up class on that specifically.
That would be fun. I do have lots of reference for it. And what you're looking for here is the direction of the bird, how many wings in a body. So look at that, the wing of this kite is about as long as from the tip of the head to the tip of the tail. So just by looking at the proportions, looking at the general shape, It's pretty much a cross shape, a bow and arrow kind of thing. Okay, and then also you want to look for spaces between shapes. That helps to judge, if the tail is the right size and width and all that, and is the head big enough or not too big. Eagles, there's a kite hovering. Okay, but to get there you have to start over here. Understanding flight, understanding wings, and to get there, okay, and I have a whole tutorial on that. We could actually do a wing today if we have time. I don't know how our time is going, and that way at least you'll have a basic understanding of that. But first, now that we have the structure of the bird, we look at the feathering. What are the feather groups or feather tracks on a bird? Every bird guide, this is I think from the Sibley Bird Guide, okay, has an illustration like this in it, and it helps you to learn about what the feather groups are, and mostly for bird watchers, so mostly it's for figuring out where that color pattern belongs. You can describe to another birder, well, the eyebrow was white, or the throat was yellow. Okay, so they can understand what you saw. They can better help you decide what the identification of that bird is. So you have things like the superciliary streak, the crown, the nape, the mantle, and everybody that does bird watching knows what these are and knows where they are. And so when you describe a bird that way, it's much easier for them to understand what you saw. But for artists, it also helps you to find what goes where. So let's draw this bird, if we have time. We're going to draw this bird, again a sparrow, and we're going to put the feathers on this time. Okay? I completely unplugged.
It happens.
The breeze is picking up.
We are really working in the elements today.
Yeah, which is great because we can hear the blackbirds. We've got the red-winged blackbirds behind us singing. It's like a choir. Okay, so I'm going to turn this pad over. And I might get a fresh pen because this one's drying out a little bit. Alright, so we're going to draw another sparrow. And this time it's going to be going from right to left according to the drawing in Sibley's Bird Guide. Okay? The ground, the tail is going to come up here, the head's going to come over here, so I know my body is going to be pretty big and quite low to the ground. Maybe the ground's going to be a little further down. Okay, but it's a chunky body in this case, and the tail is going to come up from the body like this. Okay, the oval for the rump is going to be going upwards. I can fit about, I think, 3 heads in a body, so that means my head's going to be about this big, my rump's about the same size. Head's going to be on the left side of the body this time, overlapping with the body, no neck. Okay, so it's going to be here like that. There's a sparrow. It's all very quick. If you get it wrong, quick to erase. So don't worry about it, just have fun. Okay, straight out of the middle here is a beak, the beak guideline and the eye guideline. The eye is going to be here. The beak is about 3 beaks in the head to here, like that, there. Okay, and now the foot comes in down here, ankle, foot, toes, and we're not going to worry too much about the feet right now. We're going to look at the wings because we haven't done feathering. I want to do the wings. So the neck goes back like that. The other foot comes in here like this. The wing rest is right over the breast here in the middle of the body, but on top, of course, it's on the back of the bird, not on the breast really. So it's going to be in this area here. It's about the size of the head. Okay, and there are important groupings of feathers there. Those are the feathers that cover the flight feathers. They're on the arm of the wing of the bird. So every bird, can you see me from where I am? Okay, every bird has the equivalent of our arm. Their wing is an arm. Okay, they have a hand, they have all the finger bones, but they're fused together into small cluster of bones. Think of a chicken wing. They have a forearm, and then they have an elbow and a wrist. These feathers are on the wrist. So the wrist of the bird is here. The wing is bending this way. The flight feathers are going up over the rump, but they come in here. This is the forearm here, like that. That's a forearm, and then the wing bends back. Okay, and then the flight feathers come off and backwards. Okay, over the back. So the flight feathers then go back like this, and they're the longest feathers. They're going to go over the rump. Okay, off of this forearm come some other flight feathers called secondary flight feathers. These are the primary flight feathers, the long ones. And the secondary flight feathers are going to be grouped in here like this. So on the wing wrist, we have what are called covert feathers, and they're clustered like little tiles, like this. Okay, about 9 or 10 on the forearm, 9 or 10 on the hand. Okay, and the same thing with the flight feathers. You're going to have 9 or 10 flight feathers, probably about 9 on a sparrow with a little rounded wing. Okay, and about 9 or 10 primary flight feathers. So there's my secondaries, my coverts, and the coverts are grouped into 3 main groups. The greater coverts are the biggest. That's the first set. Then this median coverts, which are half the size of the greater coverts, and then there is lesser coverts. And then there are some smaller groups that go all the way out to the edge of the wing. They're small, tiny feathers. They're very tough because that's where all the wind hits the wing. That's where the damage would really be done. If that bird is flying at full speed, the wind will tear those feathers apart if they're not strong. Okay, they're right on the edge of the wing. They're taking the brunt of the force in flight. All right, so that's roughly what a wing is. And a tail is pretty much the same thing. They're flight feathers. They're like your primary flight feathers or your secondary flight feathers. And they're sort of stacked. You can see the entire tail feather in the middle on the top. And then they're stacked going away from you like this, and stacked coming towards you like this. Okay? And then the rump has covert feathers as well. Those are feathers that will cover the base of the tail flight feathers. Okay, and they're sort of stacked like this, like tiles. Okay, rump comes into the bottom here, ankle comes out, breast. Now let's do a head. Okay, heads are fun. The head is divided into like a crown. There's the beak. The beak comes down, the lips of the beak come down under the eye like this. The gape between the mandibles, and then a mustache. So there's a mustache right there, an eyebrow right there, a cheek patch, or cheek feathers, or what are called air patch, auriculars, okay, of feathers, the nape of the back of the neck, the throat underneath the chin, and you can start to see the different groups really give the bird more character. Okay, here's the air patch or the cheek patch, superciliary streak, or the supercilium eyebrow. Okay, mustachial streak, or mustache, and then the throat. Okay, there's some neck feathers below the throat, and then you get into the breast feathers. So once you start to learn all of these groupings, it really brings your little framework of a bird to life, gives it more character. On the back here, there's a whole group of mantle back feathers. Okay, mantles. Then you have another group here, which would be for shoulders. So that'll be the scapular grouping. And then you're getting into the wing feathers. Okay, here you have the coverts on the tail. See that little stacking like that? There are the coverts on the wing stacked. This is the entire feather on the top. These are all stacked underneath. Okay, so those are the big groups. There is another little group here that are, this is the primary coverts that are hidden underneath. So the primary coverts would be a little group. You hardly see anything, they're tucked underneath. Okay, so what I would like to do now, any questions?
Nope, just lots of good feedback.
Oh, fantastic.
And a lot of our followers look like they're going to send their sketches from today to us, and we'll share them in this whole feed.
That'd be fantastic. Wow. Very good. So anyhow, we got a little more detail going there, a little bit of the wing. We can do a head or we can do a wing. Any preferences out there? We have heads. I have lots of heads. Quail head, hummingbird head, meadowlark.
Said she'd love to do
a wing.
That's the only one we've gotten. And then, another follower is asking where they can get the book you're using.
Okay, so I'm not using a book. These are just printouts of my photographs that I have sort of made into a drawing style using an app on my phone when I photographed one of my photographs. There is a book on drawing birds. I'm trying to remember the guy's name now. I have one at home, so I should remember it. I have a friend who is probably watching online. Marilyn, if you are, could you post your friend's book so everybody can see? These are drawings that I found in field guides, in the Audubon Encyclopedia of Birds, online over the years. Well, when I first started doing these classes, there was no online. There were no computers. Well, very few anyway. But these are out of the Encyclopedia of Birds from the Audubon Society. So there are a lot of places where you can find this information, but there is one drawing bird book out there.
People are mentioning John Muir Laws.
That's it.
Yeah.
John Muir Laws. Yes, thank you. If that was Marlon, I don't know, but
it was Elaine and Marlon.
Elaine. Hi, Elaine. All right, so feet.
It looks like the general consensus: people either want wings or a hummingbird head.
Ooh, hummingbird. Let's do a hummingbird head, and then we can do a wing if we have time. Okay. The wings are important, though. Hearing some sparrows out there, song sparrows. We have swallows flying over. The wind is picking up. I knew this would be a problem. I can tip this thing down, but that limits me even in a different way. All right, so there we go. Yeah, I'm going to tape this down. Hang on. I got my handy dandy blue tape. No more troubles. All right, so we're going to do a hummingbird head, and then hopefully, if we have time, a wing showing a flight. Hummingbird heads are quick, so it's not going to take too long. Look at this. This is a acorn woodpecker head. Meadowlark, scrub jay. There we go. This is an Anna's hummingbird. How many eyes in a head? How many beaks in a head? Or is it how many heads in a beak? 1 to 1, right? Eyes right smack dab in the middle. A big eye, you might fit maybe 4 eyes in a head, okay? So it's a relatively big eye. And we want to be able to fit the beak and the head, so we want to have the whole thing fit in here like this. Here's my guideline. Then half of it's going to be for the head oval, and half of it's going to be for the beak. Okay, so I'm going to bring that beak all the way out here like this. Beak's going to be narrow. Okay, head's really sort of cutting like this. Okay, and then the throat coming down, neck coming out of the back of the head. Always make sure you have that idea that there's a spine that has to come out of the back of the head. Our spine comes out of the back of our head, but it's evolved so that it's more underneath out the back of our head than out of the back, like a dog or a bird. Okay, and then that cross there, the guidelines for the eye. The eye is going to be in the middle, but above the beak here. The beak, the mouth, the gape is going to come down like that. The eye is going to be here like this. There's a hummingbird. All right. Now, the feathering all goes back on the top of the crown like this and down the back. Up and back. So it's going to come from the beak. You're going to have the feathers coming in like this, going back, and then up over the eye, down the back like this. Okay, then you have underneath the eye here, you're going to have an eye ring of sorts, just the fleshy part of the eye around the eye. It's sort of beaded. Okay. Something like that. It's actually just a dark eye. And then we have, in the Anna's hummingbird male, we have the cheek patch, the moustachial streak, the mustache, the cheek. All of this is going to be dark. All of this is patterned. These are the feathers here that are coming off the bird's neck, and then the breast sticking out. The back is sticking out. So there's our hummingbird, and all of the feathers on the neck are going to be really dark. I'm not going to take the time to shade it too much, but that's where the pattern of the bird comes in. All of this would be red if you were painting it. And then so now here's the neck going into the back. You're going to have the wing itself right here. Hummingbirds are different from other birds. Hummingbirds don't fly like other birds, they hover. And if we were drawing the wing of the hummingbird, we would have to put 6 secondary flight feathers and 9 primary flight feathers. So they have relatively few flight feathers, but especially all of the flight feathers, and the majority of the flight feathers are in the hand, in the primary flight feathers, because they fly with their hands. They flap like this. They flap their hands. That means they can hover and go backwards. They fly backwards. They can power forward, power back. They're very different from other birds. Other birds use a lot of power down and swimming through the air, and so they don't use their hands as much. And some of them don't use their hands at all. Albatrosses are they got very stiff wings that are mostly not about muscle but about just sinew, and so it's just like a kite. They use the natural winds of the Southern Ocean to fly over the ocean, and so they get lift like a kite or a glider to glide thousands of miles. Hummingbirds are different. So they have relatively few feathers, very different structure. So when you're drawing a hummingbird wing, look out for how the primaries fall. They're very different. I mean, and also the coverts. Okay, they're very different from other birds. All right, so let's do a wing. We still have 10 minutes. So it's going to be a very brief wing illustration. But here you go. There's wings. That's a hummingbird's wing. Mostly hand, mostly flight feathers in the hand. So these are the primary flights. A small grouping of 6 secondary flight feathers. Versus an albatross wing. An albatross has 32 of those secondaries that the hummingbird in here has like 6. And it has a full complement of about 10 primary flight feathers as well. And on top of that, they have more feathers over here called tertiary flight feathers that a lot of birds don't have. Okay, so that just adds to the amount of area they have for lift, for flight. Okay, here's a typical wing. That might be like a woodpecker or a hawk, or there's a woodpecker or something down here. That's more like a hawk. Okay, so that's a broad-wing hawk, and it has longer feathers to give it more lift. This has a longer wing to give it more lift. Okay, so broad-wing hawks, like a red-tailed hawk, have a wing like this, and we're going to draw a wing like that. Blue tip off. Horizontal pad. Is that going to work over there? I want to fit as much as I can, make the wing as big as I can. So I have, that's the upper arm. That's the upper arm coming off of the scapula of the bird. Okay? Here's the forearm. That's the elbow. Okay? And there's the hand. Okay? So that's the arm of a bird. The body would be here. The head would be there. Okay? And so now you're going to have the divisions of the wing like this. Primary flight feathers coming off of the hand. Secondary flight feathers coming off of the forearm. Tertiary, if you have tertiary, coming off of the upper arm. Okay? Most birds the body would just end right here like this. Okay? So off of the hand, you're going to have 10 flight feathers. So 1, 2, 3, maybe 4, like that. Often that would be the shortest feather. Sometimes it's the longest feather, so be careful with that. If it's a pointy tip wing, it's going to have a longer flight feather on the first flight feather. Okay? In the rounded wings of a red-tailed hawk, it's going to be the 4th feather is going to be the longest, 4th or 5th, and then it starts to shorten up. And you're going to have about 9 or 10 feathers there, and you're going to have the same here. So 1, 2, 3, 4. There you go. That's your wing. Okay? Now, how do the coverts fit in? Typically about half the wing. It's going to be coverts. So the stacked coverts, 10 or so greater coverts, stacked coverts here, like that, and that's going to be a typical sort of wing. Now that changes. You can see that on the albatross, more than half of the wing is taken up by coverts. That's a typical wing there. Okay, and here's a hummingbird wing where it's mostly flight feathers. The coverts are very small, reduced. And then you have these rows and rows of coverts. So you're going to have rows and rows getting smaller and smaller like this. Okay, stacked, about 10. Okay, and then these are the small, what you call marginal coverts. These are the tough little feathers on the foredge of the wing, taking the brunt of the wind. Okay, so we got 5 minutes. Any other questions or feedback?
Yeah, this is the time to ask. You can give it a couple seconds. But no,
Yeah.
people love that.
Okay. So I hope that helps. It's it'll take some time to draw a proper wing. I mean, I'm doing it very roughly, very quickly, but it sort of gives you an idea of what to look for. Go to your references. Go online, look up bird wings on Google. You know, you're going to get reference coming up as illustration.
And then if you just want to clip the mic back on, I'll just do a quick little outro. Wonderful. Well, thank you so much. I hope I'm in the frame. Think I'm in the frame. Thank you so much, everyone, for tuning in again. I really wanted to draw along with you guys, so maybe later tonight I'll watch the video and I'll do it too. Thank you so much, Edward, for coming in. Maybe we'll do another one with him. Let us know if you want to, and if Edward is willing, we would love to do something like this again. Leave all of your suggestions for future virtual events also. In the vein of virtual events, I hope you keep joining us for more of these. Tomorrow morning, Saved by Nature is going to be doing another Coyote Ridge wildflower hike, I believe at 10 a.m. tomorrow morning. You can just go, it won't be on Facebook Live, so you can go to savedbynature.org and go to their events page, and there's the link there. We also have a link on our Facebook that we posted this morning, and Richard from Saved by Nature will be leading that. It'll be really, really fun. And then this Friday, we'll be back on Facebook Live taking a tour of Take a Chance Ranch and doing some meditation and wellness surrounding nature. We're going to keep doing more events like this, so just be sure to visit our events page. That's openspaceauthority.org/events, or you can just check out our Facebook and Twitter. We usually keep them up to date with everything that's coming up. Stay safe, stay healthy, get out in nature if you can, close to your neighborhood. If you do have to go outside, like again, I mentioned, please keep at least 6 feet between yourself and the people you don't live with. That way we can keep each other all healthy and all safe and all enjoying nature in the safest way possible. Again, let us know for future events what you'd like to see, and we'll see you next time. Bye.